of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Seated. First item tonight on the agenda is our public comment portion of the meeting. So at this time, I would open the floor to anyone who would like to address the board. Come to the podium and state your name.
Do I get to go first?
Yep.
Gotta wait in line there.
Just
My
please give
my
us
name
your
is Bruce
name.
Winters. I live on 20 Dunning Avenue. I'm like the proverbial person who goes to church Easter and Sunday. Easter and Christmas, I come to these meetings when I have something I want to say. I'm generally happy the rule goes on. So this is an issue that I raised a few years ago. It was the issue of fire pits. And it really didn't resonate that much with people back then. But I think this year, after the episode that we had with all these Canadian fires, an awful lot of people are beginning to realize what happens when you have smoke in the air. As a matter of fact, as you all know, they canceled a lot of events this year. They told you to make sure you were outside, you wore a mask. And I live in the village, and there are people who have fire pits. And not talking about the ones that are gas, that's different. I'm talking about, those are not a problem. I'm talking about the ones where they throw wood, scraps, newspaper, or whatever they happen to be burning in their fire pit. I've experienced this a number of times over the years, what you folks all experienced this year when the Canadian fires were at their worst. If I had my windows open in my house, my whole house stinks. And as a matter of fact, this year, we had a long stretch of warm weather. I had my air conditioning, which incidentally I bought because I needed it because I had to do something to protect against the smoke in my house. My wife has asthma, and the blessing has been that we've enjoyed the air conditioning, but originally we got the air conditioning because of the smoke stink that would get in our house when we left our windows open at night. So this year we had a warm spell. I had the house closed up, the air conditioning on for several days in a row, and as you know, houses get kind of stale after a while when they just had air conditioning on. So we had a nice cool day here a couple weeks ago. It was on a Sunday. We opened up the windows. We went up to Charlotte and had a nice evening up there. Came back home. We came into the driveway, and when we got out of the car, we suddenly realized the air was just rank with smoke odor from a nearby fire pit. Went in the house, the whole house just stunk because we left the windows open. My wife couldn't stay, she had to leave. And it took me 2.5 to 3 hours. I had the exhaust fan on in the kitchen to get air out there. I closed every other window in the house, and I put a double fan window in the upstairs, one of the upstairs bedrooms, to exhaust air out. And it took about 2.5 to 3 hours to get the house cleaned up so it didn't stink of smoke. And I just think it's time we decided that that's really not a healthy issue to have in our community. The city of Buffalo, many years ago, the health department outlawed fire pits in the city of Buffalo. And I just think now we've had enough experience with this Canadian fire to know that the stench and the irritants that come from it are, now some people may be in an area where people don't have fire pits, that's fine, but if you're in a neighborhood where people have fire pits, it stinks depending on the direction the wind flows. So I would hope that maybe now we'll take some action against that. Again, I don't have anything against fire pits. They're fire operated, with natural gas or whatever. They're not really an issue. It's the natural burning of wood, fire, and other materials. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you.
I agree with Bruce. I live in the same area, and it's smoke right on our end of Dunning Avenue, really heavy all the time. And there's 3 or 4 different houses on the street that I know of that use wood-fired fire pits. And the smoke just kind of stays low to the ground. And there'll be a lot of times where, smell of firewood, smell of smoke burning, green wood burning. I'm I agree with you, Bruce.
It's fine if you're home.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable.
You can react quick enough and get all the windows closed, but if you happen to be out and you've had your windows
Yeah.
open, it's too late.
How would you feel regarding wood burning inside the home?
Why do they call it?
So that, you know, if you're using wood during the winter, you have a wood stove, and that exhausts through, and you can smell the smoke on the outside.
Yeah, you can, I think the state probably has to deal with that issue. I know they've outlawed burn barrels, right? They were outlawed several years ago, burn barrels. I don't know what the heck the difference is between a fire pit and a burn barrel.
I know you can't burn leaves.
Yeah, you can't burn leaves, yeah. I would imagine, I think most of the new modern stoves are, the whole thing is, as you know, it's the incomplete combustion that causes the problem. And when you have an open pit fire, you have very high level of incomplete combustion, and that's what produces the smoke. I think all the new stoves that are produced have very tight air control to them, and they don't have a lot of incomplete combustion, so you don't get as much pollution from them.
And you're not having the windows open too much.
Yeah,
in
in the winter time, yeah.
Interesting,
Tough to enforce.
very tough to enforce.
You know, how many fire pits are there in the village of Webster?
Probably not a lot.
Probably not a lot.
Well, I don't know, maybe there are more than I realize.
Carl just said there's 3 right around your little
Yeah,
area.
well, maybe there are.
I know my son lives in the village of Webster, he's got one.
Okay.
I would venture to guess,
Almost
lots of
everyone
people
does.
have, you know, the ones that are sold in Lowe's and Home Depot,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah,
you know, there's probably lots of them.
Yeah, I
well,
agree.
it's a health issue, that's the bottom line. City of Buffalo,
but-
City of Buffalo recognizes that.
So it's at night, and somebody's got a fire going. You're gonna call the Webster police?
Only
That's a tough one.
That's a tough one.
burning rubbish.
It's a good point, but definitely a tough one. Because, yeah, I think even if you decide, hey, let's say no more wood fire pits, there's no enforcement.
Could we issue a warning of some kind, like, you know,
What do you mean?
handouts, or have somebody put one in everybody's mailbox?
No.
Dangerous,
You can't
you
go
know,
into
dangerous
something.
smoke. I mean, there's people that are really susceptible to smoke as far as their lung condition goes, you know?
Have you tried to go talk to your neighbors and say, hey,
Any neighbor,
can you tone down your fire pit?
I tried, it didn't work.
You know, well, that's,
I don't know, that's, anything to be considered in terms of wind direction, I suppose.
because, you know, most times people are using them at night, not usually during the day.
Right.
So, you know, the fire marshal's not working, the village's code enforcement officer's not working. So you're relegated to calling the Webster police. In this day and age, probably on the priority scale, when you call 911 and say someone's, it's gonna get really low priority.
Well, if it's on the books, it certainly will deter some people. And you had called the police, and the police did eventually respond and give a warning to the person. I would think maybe if they were responsible citizens, they'd maybe realize, particularly after this past year with the Canadian problem. I mean, that's really brought it to people's attention. That's the reason I decided to raise the issue again, because I didn't get anywhere with it several years ago, because weren't that many people affected by it. But everybody this year found out what it was like.
could you draft a letter and make copies of it and go around and stick it in the neighbor's doors? I mean,
in terms of the village, I'm not sure we can do that.
Interested to see how the city of
I don't
Buffalo
say
enforces
us,
it.
I just say, you know, Bruce could do that. As a plea to the neighbors to, I don't know what you could say, don't burn, you know, you can't say don't burn because there's no law that says you can't.
All right, well, let's move on, but maybe we can get,
Thing about
our
it,
code enforcer, maybe we can have him, Heather can shoot him an email or something, just if he could look into
Yeah.
what the city of Buffalo does,
I mean, how they enforce it.
and just to see what happens.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Rick Waller, 20 Elm Street. I am one of those fire pit people. I do burn if the weather's nice on Saturday nights in the summer. I have noticed that I do have neighbors that have fire pits that leave them burn all night. Mine is out before I go away from it. And if the night where the breezes are carrying the wind low, I don't burn. If it's a nice clear night, smoke's going up, I burn. And that would be very hard to enforce, but that's the proper way to have a fire pit, is when the conditions are right for a fire. Like I say, I have neighbors that I've seen have gotten up in the middle of the night and looked out and see their fire pit still burning at 3 a.m. So I don't know how you would enforce it. The state law says it's legal. Before I put mine in, I checked with the then current fire marshal. And myself, I have been a volunteer fireman here in Webster for 55 years. So there is a garden hose attached to my house that will reach well beyond the fire pit. So I am prepared for any problem. And I think it's as far as getting the fire marshal out, if you called at 9, 10 o'clock at night complaining about a fire, you're not going to get the fire marshal, you're going to get a fire engine. And then maybe the fire marshal, if the chief determines it's a fire that's not burning it in the right conditions, he will put it out and notify the fire marshal. So it's a problem, and I think it's a local problem, and you have to deal with your neighbors. Unfortunately, we all have neighbors, which is most of the time a good thing, but occasionally it's not. Thank you.
Hopefully your neighbors aren't watching right now.
Anyone else? I don't think so. Well, in that case, I will close the public comment portion of the meeting, and we will move to regular business. First item is a resolution to approve the minutes from July 27th. You have them in front of you. See no errors or needs for addition, then I would ask for a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Trustee Buckley?
Aye.
Trustee Abolito?
Aye.
Trustee Lauer?
Aye.
Mayor Byers?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, next we have a motion to approve the claims and warrants. I had an opportunity to look them over. I didn't find anything in particular that I didn't get an answer to or raised my concerns. Carl, you had a chance to look them over as well?
I did, and I just wondering why John needs Carhartt sweatshirts for $321.
Those are part of his clothing allowance.
I know.
Yeah, that's,
I think I'll get 5 this time.
And
I think I'll get boots with them too, and a zip jacket.
that would be the time to negotiate that would be with the contract, so.
I know.
And by then you would be well over your.
So I assume the outdoor string lights are for the Jazz Fest?
Yes. They look good too, for the
Which I'm happy that both east and west,
Yep.
not just on the west.
I went across the street too.
And they're the Edison ones, not just the string lights. They look good.
Yeah.
I've been to
Can I get a Village of Webster sweatshirt?
We don't have any, but
You can order them, I think they are $195.
So I'll ask for a motion to approve the bills.
I will make that.
I'll second.
trustee Alito,
Aye.
trustee Lauer,
Aye.
trustee Belkane,
Aye.
Mayor Barnes.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right. I'd like to go next to number 4, resolution to approve the budget modifications and transfers. You have only one in front of you, and that is the sewer fund budget modification to increase the budget for repairs to the middle primary tank due to needing to replace 2 bearing blocks. And this would come from line item GG 8120446, routing, the $15,000 removed from that line to GG 8130-457, preventative maintenance.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Trustee Alito,
Aye.
trustee Belkane and Lauer,
Aye.
Mayor Barnes.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right. We have item number 3. We really don't have a lot, I suppose, at this point to discuss, but it says retail distribution. There's not a whole lot of additional information to that, but
No, but that could mean anything.
it could.
That's really not a good subject line.
I don't,
Well, retail distribution of what?
Yeah.
What were you talking about? What were you thinking about?
I love Donnie, just fires away.
Well, you're right. Retail distribution of marshmallows? What?
Sweatshirts.
Sweatshirts?
fire pits.
Fire pits?
Oh, jeez. That ain't gonna go.
Sweatshirt.
Who asked, let me rephrase this. Who asked it to be put on the agenda?
Trustee Alito,
So then what was trustee Ippolito's intent?
Our intent was to talk about what this whole board talked about previous, about cannabis.
Oh, okay.
And
So retail
so we had
distribution
somebody,
sorry.
of cannabis.
we had someone come to our last meeting, explain what they're looking to do, ask this board to think about it, and we said we would put it on the next agenda to discuss. So that's why it's here.
Gotcha. Well, I was like you, when I just saw retail distribution, I'm scratching my head.
Sorry. I don't know if I could put, I don't know. Sorry.
I think the only person that wasn't here last time was Carl.
But I got the information online. He sent it to me.
So at some point, yeah, we're gonna have to really make a decision, potentially have a public hearing.
I had a sit-down with them yesterday. Mr. Miko and his brother and his son and one other explained to me their business proposal. And the bottom line being, after they proposed to me what their business is gonna do, the bottom line was the village is gonna get $119,000 per year out of their estimated $300,000 take-in each year. And my response to that was that's yeah, that's all well and good, but you're proposing that you receive $300,000. You take in $300,000. What if you only take in $100,000? How much is that for the village? And what's the percentage that you're giving the village? Where does that come from? The answer was 2, 6, 8%, 10, 13. So it depends on what their gross is, and it depends on how much we get, but I'm thinking that there are an awful lot of pluses and minuses to this. And I don't want to go into detail of the negatives right now. And my opinion is they're putting the pressure on for us to hurry it up. Because Sam's license that he obtained from the state of New York expires in 90 days. And he wants to set up a shop in his location there down on North Avenue and have it running in 90 days. And I told him that I don't think that's possible, and that there would be a public hearing or that we need to get input from the public as far as what they feel, what we should be doing. I don't think we should vote on it right here and make a decision and then have the public, the citizens, come to us and say, why did you do that, or why didn't you do that? We need to hear from the public, and
Yeah, which is
Their story-
the typical process.
their story is, they're gonna get their supply from a New York State and federal operated distribution center. And they take that supply in the packets or whatever that has a stamp on it, put it in their jars, and that's how they sell it.
Yeah, it could be tracked, so that what they presented to you is what they presented to this board. So
I know, I'm just going back through that, and they underlined the fact that we need to have 3 board members sign. They stated to me that Al, Jerry, and Judy thought it was a good idea. And at the end of the meeting, I said, I can't give you an answer right now, yes or no. I've got to talk to my board members and try to understand how they feel. And then we have to go to the public and find out how they feel. And it's something that we can't make a quick decision on, until we really explore. There's been mentions of heavier traffic, a seedy atmosphere, on-premise use, adults buying for children, or adults buying for teenagers, and all of those are negatives. But you can go right across the street and buy a 12-pack of beer and give it to the kids too. It's the same thing. And so now I'm going towards the positive. So the initial impact of that store being there might cause an uproar. But eventually, we'll find out if
There
there's
would
not.
be no on-site use, that's not permitted under their
Okay.
license.
You can-
I don't think.
It's similar to a
Then you
gas
can.
station or a smokehouse. You don't run into the stogie store, buy a stogie and then sit in the parking lot.
No, I know.
Yeah,
I
that's
know.
not
And
how it works.
I'm not a user, so I don't know, but,
Well, that's a state law, it's now legal in New York State to smoke cannabis wherever it's legal to smoke cigarettes.
right.
And there's nothing this board can do about that.
Correct.
Right,
Except for in the parks, right?
right.
Well,
Yeah.
we could say, I mean,
Right.
it's up to this board to make the decision whether they open a store or not.
Right, if they open a store, but remember, when we talk about all the negative impacts for health and stuff, we didn't make that decision, we
No.
didn't vote on that decision, that has nothing to do with this board. If you're a marijuana user, you're using marijuana, whether it's in the village of Webster, or you drive to the city, or you go to Irondequoit, it doesn't matter. That's not changing it. And I've never, to this date, have tried it, used it, or never plan on using it, so that piece to me really doesn't make a difference.
So basically, to
That
you,
tax
it's
revenue.
monetary only.
Yeah, I think, I think,
I think what Jerry's saying, you know, the New York State Legislature and government have already decided that any perceived negative, there aren't sufficient negative perceived health benefits to marijuana use to not legalize.
That's wrong. They did not say that. They
Well-
put money, there is money in that
Is this-
bill
is
to
this- is this
go
open to the
towards
public?
mental
No.
health coverage.
It's not open.
Well, if they thought it was so bad for the public, you know, why was it legalized?
It was legalized because of financial reasons. They thought they were gonna get money out of
I
it.
agree.
Well, maybe, but.
I'm a guy who got up and gave an impassioned speech at the beginning of this discussion, and I gave you all the medical reasons why we shouldn't get involved in this.
We did. So,
right, but we're not the decision makers, we're on the medical, that's what you guys gotta understand, we're not the health people, or the governor, or anybody in the state that said, smoke it. People are smoking it. Just like they're drinking the beer down the street and all those other things, and smoking cigarettes, and doing drugs. We have nothing to do with that piece of that.
but to me, Don, when you say that it's legal in the state, this governor and everybody else made legal, they've made alcohol legal too, and there are dry villages, there are dry communities in New York State that have said, we don't want alcohol, you know.
But this is different. You cannot pass a law in the village of Webster that bans marijuana use.
Can't.
No.
That's specific in the state legislation.
Correct. Once you opt in, that's what is different about this. Once you opt in, you cannot opt out. Right now, we have said no, because that was initially.
You opted out of the retail sales,
Correct. Or,
not the private use of.
correct. Oh, absolutely.
But it's different than a
You're
dry,
absolutely
that's different than the town of, or the village of Williamson, which
Right.
was dry for years. That was in the, when they repealed prohibition or whatever, the federal law must have said that, you know, localities can, if they want to, ban the consumption.
No, Williamson didn't ban the consumption, they only banned the sale.
I don't think so.
So, well, so when you say it's a dry town, it's not really.
True.
No,
They say
use
no
it in
sale.
town and buy
So it'd be
it
the
somewhere
same
else.
thing.
Same thing.
Sure, you can go out and get it and bring it in. You can do that here. It's legal to go out and get it and walk down the street like a cigarette and smoke a joint. Absolutely. And drive a car. Although could be impaired, but I don't know they haven't come to that point yet. I think the bothers, what gets me is that once you say, once you agree, you, like, the laws that we have, we can change them, we can modify them, et cetera. You can't do that with this. Once you say, yes, you are forever, yes. I think that's what gets me. Anyways,
So are we in any type of fiscal trouble that we would need to have $120,000 a year after?
not at the moment.
The sewer, right?
Yeah, you guys did vote for the sewer, that's climbing every time I look at the budget. So, yeah, you could probably use that to support that decision that we made.
Can I make one point here?
No, we're not opening it up for a discussion at the moment.
Okay.
Okay, so we did have a discussion.
Good.
Is there anything else at the moment that you would like to bring up regarding that? I provided you with some information. It's counterpoint to what was presented to you other, at the,
I want to hear what Al
Meeting?
says. What does Al say?
Al says, I think we can use the the money, again, to offset some of the other expenses we have. It's very highly regulated by the state. I know at first when we were talking about it, it's like, you don't want that clientele hanging out there, but like Don said, you can't hang out there and smoke joints and all that. Did they say they're gonna do a lot of like mail delivery or talking about it, or like delivering it, or?
I didn't hear that part.
Okay. But, like I said, it's very, I felt comfortable when they said it's very highly regulated. I mean, they'll shut, they're not doing the right thing, they'll shut them down immediately. And then if we can bring in additional revenue to reduce our taxes to our constituents, I think that's a good idea.
That was the whole initial idea about legalizing marijuana, was the monetary impact.
Just like they did with gambling.
So you would have greater opportunity for an older brother or for somebody who you knew, 21, to go in, get it, and provide it to you as an 18-year-old or a 13-year-old.
They could get it on the street.
I know they can do that now,
You can
but
do it
we're
now.
talking about
Right,
where.
Nick, so
You go
Penfield,
outside and you go outside the
Penfield,
village,
Ontario, you can go and do it,
that's fine.
just
So
like.
you say it's
cigarettes.
fine.
There's
Therefore,
there's
it's being done,
unlicensed
so it's okay,
cannabis
we'll do
shops
it here
in the town of
because
Webster.
we want the money.
There's one right here on Main Street. I
We don't
I
have
see a
to
lot of
use the money.
negatives
I can't
with
afford
this. I can, and, maybe some other time in executive session we can.
And I'm not, the negatives you were bringing up, I don't disagree with all of them, but you're also talking about
But there are
things
more.
that were
There's
not
more that I
our control.
I
So we
really
say,
want
no,
to-
don't put it here, put it in Penfield, Fairport, East Rochester, all those other towns that did it, Ontario. They reap the benefits of the money, and our people that we're saying we wanna protect because of their health issues it causes, are going there, getting it, and coming home and smoking in Webster. So that's where I struggle understanding, if this was a vote about allowing it to be legal or not, we could have a different conversation. But it's legal, we can't stop that.
I think the positives outweigh the negatives. That was my conclusion after hearing.
You're selling your soul to the devil for a few tax dollars. Think about that.
Yeah, but the bottom line is, they're smoking it whether we have a story or not, that's,
You're just an
Yeah, but
enabler.
so I don't.
You're becoming an enabler.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that.
Roll me
Anyways.
up- roll me up and smoke me one a day. Willie Nelson.
All right, so we had a discussion. I don't think we were going to come to any conclusion necessarily.
I wish I could do a survey to see if we didn't put it in here and took a poll of the people that smoke marijuana in the town, in the village, with a shop and without a shop. I would love to see what it is, but I can guarantee you the number would not have changed. So. You're a user, you're a user. You're gonna go where you can get it. And the other concern I have, this has been brought up by a lot of people, is the stuff that the kids are getting off the streets and stuff, not have other stuff in it. So
That was the point they made.
there is a lot of danger just in that, because,
They are laced with some bad stuff.
yeah, laced with some bad stuff. And that came from, I'm not gonna mention the name, but a really good police officer friend of mine that talked about that, so.
I don't know.
Good
To
to
be
know.
honest, if you're worried about stuff off the street, certainly can get seeds and grow them yourself and have 6 very mature plants that are large, and
Right.
now you know.
Right, so you said that earlier too, so grow it at home, grow 6 plants at home. So it's not really the health benefits that you're worried about, because you're just publicly stating, do it at home.
If that's what you want to
Right,
do.
so that's what this is all about, controlling what other people want to do. You can't control what they want to do. You know what I mean? But you're allowed, so if we just, put it on our website, every village home, you're allowed to do 6 plants. And 90% of the village does it, Guess what? They're all high, they're all driving on our streets, and we didn't get
And
tax
it's gonna
revenue.
be the smog in the air. Bruce.
Yeah, and then we're not gonna get the tax revenue, but they're gonna be high.
And we're gonna suffer from all that smoke inhalation. That's why I put
Police
Bruce.
is busy for sure.
Alright, I think we beat it up
Yeah.
tonight.
I agree.
You can beat it, or, just beat it.
What are you, Michael Jackson?
Brought up that,
Michael Jackson.
Beat it. Michael Jackson.
I think we have to get you tested.
R.I.P.
All right, I'd like to close the discussion portion there, and we'll move to Don. Do you have anything for us?
Did you do the budget modifications and transfers?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I have nothing.
Okay. To the clerk's office.
I have a question, wait, before we go there. What's happening with speedies? Like speedy permit?
I have no clue. You'd have to ask Jake that question for Matt Higgins.
Yeah.
It's waiting for the
Sign.
state.
Well,
I think anything that passed down to the state for,
We've met all the requirements.
I think so. When they try out to the state. Our INAs, the two INAs we have, so the rest has gone on for their
It should have been this week. I
return
think I found it.
comments.
Okay.
I saw it.
Anything?
I was just telling that the brush pickup was this week. Sorry.
It'll probably extend beyond tomorrow, because in driving around the village today,
Yeah.
there are lots of piles of brush, and I think that the rain for the 2 days this week, whatever.
And they have been working on a big project, and I don't know what it is, but they have been very busy, so they probably will continue on that next week.
Thanks for the update, Heather.
No problem.
Okay. I would like to then make a public notification that the serial bond interest and principal payment for the bond obtained in 2012 will be made in the amount of $64,268.75 on September 15th, 2023. That's for public information. And finally, I would like to note that our next meeting will be a village board workshop that it will be on August 29th at 6 p.m. here in the meeting room. Anything else? Anybody has?
We can send trustee Lauer the minutes from the last meeting that we had with Lobella and everybody this week. We can send those out. I think he did touch on it for a couple minutes about the speedies permit, but I can do that. I think he might have been on it, but I'll check.
All right,
I want to mention the jazz in the village.
Jazz Festival on the 16th,
18th
18th,
and 19th.
18th and 19th. Everybody has probably been through Main Street and seen the lights that are up. If you haven't been through in the evening, you should go because the lights are lit and it looks very, very nice. Friday night, there will be, I believe, 5 or 6 establishments that will be hosting, each of them hosting a different group. And then on Saturday, I believe that it starts at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There will be seats out. Main Street will be closed from at least 9 o'clock, if not 7 in the morning. And
I usually work Friday.
it will be from 2 until around 11 o'clock, right?
So are we doing vehicles or concrete barriers?
I don't know. I have the feeling that they will probably do vehicle, maybe concrete.
I just want to make sure
I
we
think both.
That I
very,
don't
very
know. I haven't heard from, I
protect that whole entire area.
haven't heard
Yep.
from Jake.
If we haven't learned enough.
Yeah.
I can ask him to send out an update, but I'm pretty sure both. But also, there's a family game night happening tomorrow night.
Tomorrow.
Where though, you gotta give detail. You don't just say it's
Well,
happening.
it's on Main Street. I just
On
don't know
Main
exactly
Street.
what spot. Yeah.
They close it down. I believe it's going to be on the west end.
I don't think they closed the street, but.
The
Oh,
last,
I
yeah,
think it's
yeah,
in
yeah.
Veterans Park.
Yeah,
I think it's in Veterans Park.
Is it down in the park?
Yes,
The last one that they had a month or so ago was in the park.
yeah. Sorry.
So tomorrow
Family fun
night,
night.
tomorrow night there is a family fun night.
Family fun night, we're not 100% sure where it is, but try these 6 locations.
That's right. Go where all the people are.
Veterans Park, best bet. Try it. All right, anything else? If not, I'll now take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make it.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. It is
7:41.
7:41. Gotta change that clock. Now,